Yiheng Wang recently broke the 3x3 world record average with a time of 4.48 seconds. Congrats to him, but today, I'm gonna try to beat it. I will be using the exact same scrambles that Yiheng Wang had in order to try to beat his world record. I'll have 5 attempts to do so. Thanks to SpeedCubeDB for having the scrambles on their site. Now let's get into the first attempt. This first attempt was all I could have ever wanted. Starting the average with a 6 is extremely good to me. I had a slight hiccup on the second solve, which resulted in me getting a 10, but with an M Perm, I think I'm gonna switch my solution for the next time. The third solve was also great, getting me another 6, which means 1 6 is counting. The fourth solve was like decent, it wasn't phenomenal or anything, but it could have been better. The solve just wasn't smooth and there were way too many pauses. And the fifth solve ended with a 6, which means I had 2 counting 6s in this first average. Those 2 counting 6s were clutch because it helped my average drop a lot. I was feeling pretty good after this first average. I thought maybe I could come somewhat close to a 4-second average. All in all, it was a 720 average with the best solve of 659 and a worst solve of 1034. The second average started very similarly to the first one. On the first solve I got a 623, which meant a very solid start. However, on the second solve I struggled quite a bit. I found a solid solution to the scramble, but unfortunately I ended the solve with a +2. On my third solve I got a 686. On my fourth solve, I did a little bit better than the first average, getting a 776. And on my fifth solve, it seems like I just absolutely forgot the solution I used on the first average because my time skyrocketed up to 861. Anyways, I got an average of 7.57 seconds with the best time of 623 and a worst time of 1035. When it came time to do the third average, the first solve was extremely routine. I've been consistently getting a low 6 time on that scramble, and on this third average, I did just the same. The second solve seemed to be going pretty flawlessly until a pesky end perm came in and slowed down my time to an 861. The third solve was also pretty routine. I managed to get a low 6 on that one, barely beating out the other 2 times I did this scramble. The fourth solve also remained pretty consistent, coming in at a sub 8, so nothing too extraordinary to report there. And then came the fifth solve. The fifth solve was absolutely horrendous. I was locking up, my look ahead just wasn't there. It was just a forgettable solve, but luckily it didn't count towards my average. After a disappointing final solve, the average clocked in at a 743 with the best time of 629 and a worst time of 1152. This fourth average was just bizarre. In the first 4 averages, this fourth average was the only pure sub 9 average that I was able to have. However, even though it was a pure sub 9 average, it was only the third best that I did up to date. We started off very typically with a 630 on the first scramble. The second solve was again nuisanced by a pesky end perm at the end. And then the cubing gods came down and blessed this third solve with the first sub 6 of the video. The fourth solve came in a little disappointing, coming in at an 805. I wish it could have gotten sub 8, but it is what it is. And then the fifth solve ended with an 876. In the end, I mustered a 753 average with the best time of 579, which matches my PR single, which you can watch in the iCard, and a worst time of 876. And now all of the pressure lies on the fifth and final average. The first average is still my best average by a significant amount, so let's see if my fifth average can beat it. And we're off to an immaculate start, starting off with a sub 6. That is the best time I was able to get on that scramble, and it couldn't have come at a better moment. Now on to the second solve. Will it impress just like the first one? It does. This is the best time I've gotten on this scramble with a 776. The third solve on this fifth average barely gets edged out by the third solve on the fourth average, but it still comes in at a very nice time of 611. And now on to the fourth solve, which continues to stay incredibly mid, coming in at a 791. That scramble just has no luck on it. And now the final solve of the video. Am I able to get a pure sub 8 average on this fifth average? And the answer is... no, I barely missed it. This fifth and final average seemed to go incredibly well, but was it enough to beat the first average of 720? After an intense and treacherous fight with the first average, the fifth average comes in at a 726, barely missing the mark, with the best solve of 593 and a worst solve of 817. So I guess Yiheng Wang's world record average is safe for me for now. My best average was just under 3 seconds off from his 4.48, so I think I'm getting pretty close. Anyways, if you want to see me break Max Park's world record single, click the video on screen.